So, what does this principle mean? It actually means that if we want to have a successful guiding, we need to have support from financial, support voluntarily, support political. What does that mean? This actually is far more beyond just a guide. This is about the tour industry. If you want to present a good guiding, the tour guide need to have a good relationship with the tour agency. And maybe the tour agency can provide you with some of the very important tools, or maybe, for example, iPad. And in that way, you can present it to your guest. So, getting support is also what a guide should require. And when you are doing guiding, the support might not just come from your company, it might come from the government. For example, when I walk my client to the Yangmingshan National Park, there's actually the board is made by our government and they have a little key information over there. So my job is to lead my client to that board over there and I will share those information to my client. This is me getting the support from my government, and together we create a good tour for our audience. So getting support is something you can put in your mind as well. Next, interpretation should instill in people the ability and the desire to sense the beauty in their surrounding, to provide spiritual uplift, and to encourage resource uh, preservation. What does it mean? It actually means that as a guide, you should let your audience know why this place is beautiful. You help them to admire the landscape your country had. By your guiding skill, you can ask your audience to appreciate the environment that your hometown environment. For example, if we go to Salmon Lake, and I will ask my client not to pollute the water. Why is that? Because that is also our drinking water as a Taiwanese people. So when I was doing the guiding, I will ask them not to throw cash, not to just pour their drink into the lake. That is very important. As a guide, we should also give them a sense of environmental protection. And that can make your client feel better as well because you are protecting your own country, you are protecting your own environment. That is very is important. So as a guide, please remember this principle. Next, interpreter can promote optimal experience through international and software program and facility design. What does this mean? This means like we need to know our surrounding. For example, when I took my client to John Carson Memorial Park, I need to know the whole park. I need to know where is the toilet. I need to know where is a good stop, where is a good place for my client to take a break, where can they get water, where can they get some food. I can provide them with their needs. So as a tour guide, you should know the whole environment first. So when you are doing the tour, in any cases, your client asks you a question, maybe I want to go to the bathroom, maybe I'm thirsty, or maybe I want to buy some souvenir. That's okay because you're familiar with the environment, so you can provide them the right information. And in the same time, because most of the time the weather, you might not be controlling the weather, it might be raining. So you know a place that when it's rain, you can take your client to a very good location and you can do your guiding over there. That is such an important thing, right? So this is about this principle, to know your surrounding very well. Now, let's go to the last principle. Passion is the essential ingredient for powerful and effective interpretation. Passion for the resource and for those people who come to be inspired by the same. What does the last principle mean? It means passion is the key. As a tour guide, I believe your passion for your loving things, maybe it's food, Maybe it's your hometown, maybe it's just a restaurant, or maybe it's a landscape. Share that passion with your client and make sure they feel your passion as well. That is such an important tour guide spirit because when you are sharing your passion, you are really make your client feel powerful, affected by your emotion. That emotion can spark their interest. That emotion can make your client fall in love with your country, your beloved street food, or your beloved landscape. So, passion. So, the last part of my presentation is the strategy for a guide. And there is some strategy I would like to share with you. The first one is try to share with you about the beef noodles. And that will be, I'll be using this as the theme and I will show you different skill. The first skill is breakdown method. So how can I break down a beef noodle soup? And that will be, okay, there is the ball and inside contains soup. We have noodles, some veggie, and there's a beef on top. That is to break it down. You break it down, the beef noodle soup, into pieces. You get noodles, soup, ball. So breakdown method will be looking like this. You see? Up, down, down, down. So a bigger theme, go to a smaller theme, smaller. That is the breakdown method. Okay, now the next method, provocation. Provocation is I'm going to inspire. Beef noodle soup is such a lovely dish from Taipei. It smells great, tastes wonderful. It can provide you with a warm welcome when you're visiting Taipei. This provocation method is to inspire your desire of having this beef noodle soup. And that is what I tried to do earlier. The provocation is to inspire, to spark your interest. You try to eat it. So if you haven't eaten the beef noodle soup yet, please try to find some time and go get it. It's really tasty. I really like it myself. One of my favorite shops is just near the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Hall. And the name is called Mother Zhang Beef Noodle Soup. Go try it. And now, make key point is another method of sharing your guiding. So, for example, as a key beef noodle soup, the key point will be, okay, this is a very important cuisine from Taipei, and it's a dishes that basically brought into Taiwan in the year of after 1949. And now the Taipei government the Taipei City Hall have the beef noodle competition every year. So they will select the best beef noodle soup every year. That is 3 different key points. What it's about, and the history background of it, and now in the modern days, what activity or what further information they can know. So make some key point is other method of interpretation. Next, metaphor. What does metaphor mean? It means that for some people, if you don't know about beef noodle soup, that's okay. I will refer to something you know. For example, maybe you haven't tried beef noodle soup, but maybe you tried Minami Pho. I will tell you, beef noodle soup is just like Minami Pho, but we taste a bit stronger. So in this way, you have a little bit concept. Oh, okay, it might be like that, just like pho. Pho, maybe if you don't know what I'm saying, PHO, the local dishes from Vietnam, very delicious as well. So I will tell you, beef noodle soup is just like Vietnamese pho. So this is such important ideas. If you don't know how to share the items or the landscape with your customers, you can tell them something they already know. For example, you might not been to Turoko Gorge, but that is a marble place. So I will just ask you to imagine the white marble and then place it in the river. That can be a metaphor to try to share your guiding skill with something your customer already know, and that requires a skill that knowing what your client know. So let me give you an example. As an American tourist, if I want to share them about the Turtle Gorge, I'll just try to share with them. It's like a national park in the United States. It's an area protected very well, and they have such a good landscape, just like Grand Canyon. But the rock have different colors. So that is a way to create some connection, and that is a very important skill that you can use. Next is the comparison. So what does a comparison mean? For example, as the beef noodle soup, I will compare Taipei beef noodle soup with Vietnamese pho. So they are both contain beef, but now we go to the detail. The Vietnamese pho, the beef is just sliced in pieces. But for Taipei beef noodle soup, it's more like a small type of steak, a smaller size but bigger. So it's not a slice, it's bigger part. And then for the soup, it actually tastes different. For the pho, it's lighter, but for the beef noodle, it's stronger. And for the noodle, it's definitely not the same. For the pho, it's made from rice, and for the noodle, it's made from wheat. So that is the comparison about Vietnamese pho, beef noodle soup. Using the comparison technique, you can actually help your client to understand it more easily. So, if you want to share a temple with your client but they have no idea about it, make some comparison between the temple and the church. Maybe they know familiar with the church. So tell them about the executive part. Tell them about the structure part. Tell them about the religious part. What is the difference? What is the same? And that is the comparison technique. Now, it's another skill. It's called history input. So the history input basically for beef noodle soup is in the year of 1949, that is a great retreat. Many soldiers came from China and they know how to cook beef noodle soup well. Okay, that is an example. So you put some information about history into your guiding skill. And that is the method of history input. Next is the science input. So for example, as a beef noodle soup, this is how I'm going to share with you how to cook it. So for cooking beef noodle soup, you used to have a boil water. You make sure it's 100 degree already. Put a noodle inside for about 3 to 5 minutes. Take it out, put it in the ice bowl water, and then you start preparing for the beef. You put tomatoes, vegetables, and beef inside. Stew it for about 2 to 3 hours, and you also can add some Chinese herbal medicine to make it more tasty. And then you combine the soup with your noodle together, and that is the beef noodle soup. This can be a science input to elaborate your tour or the item you want to explain to your client in a scientific way. Use the science method, and that is a very, very useful technique as well. So, it's nearly the end of my presentation, and let me keep on going by sharing with some of the question for you. So the question, what is your country most important landscape? What is your hometown, your own most favorite food? What is your attraction for international tourists? That is some of the question I want you to think about. Because as a guide, our job is to introduce our country, our hometown, and our local industry well. And that will be my answer. To really know your own country very well, to know about some of the nice street food in your hometown, and also to know what you want to share with them. So think about it. Think about what for you, what is the most important thing about your country or your hometown. Maybe which food is your most favorite dishes in your country. And now let's go to the last part. In the beginning, I have mentioned that in the end of my presentation, I hope you have some of the ideas about how to share Taiwan. Ta-da! Okay, you can see Here, right in the middle, we have T, and just in the left, there's one of the most famous, beautiful highway. It's from Toronto to Taichung. It's a central crossing highway. And from the left, we have the Yangming San. And top over there, we have the ocean. We have the Salmon Lake on the left. We also have Taitung, the rice field. And we have Pacific Ocean on the right. And down there, we have Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Hall, Xiaolongbao from Ding Tai Fung. We have Jufen, one of the gold mine town. And we have the Jufen Town restaurant, the tea restaurant, and also we also have an interesting landscape in Yellow. So I just want you to imagine, just by using these pictures, which of the method will you choose? And think about the guiding principle we talk about today. So okay, let's sum up the whole presentation. As a guide, your job is not to instruct. Your job is to provoke, to inspire your client. So let me give you an example for tea. For the Taiwan tea, my job is not to teach you the information about Taiwan tea. Instead, my job is to spark your interest of trying Taiwan tea. So because your goal is different, so your method of doing that is also going to be different as well. For information of Taiwan tea, it's going to be we have green tea, oolong tea, and black tea. And the difference of that is because there's different fermentation. But if I just give you these information, you're not going to be interested of tasting it. So for me, I will share a story with you. My dad is a tea lover. When I was a little boy, I would taste tea with my dad. And it's such an important culture because for tasting tea, it really represents a nice family time. My dad always have tea after dinner and we can enjoy the news together. And he would tell me that oolong tea is his favorite tea. He liked the atmosphere that enjoying for the tea is warm. He liked to see the tea color is a little bit yellow, and when he tastes it, it's not bitter but sweet. And the tea can also have an effect of cutting down some of the fat. So I liked the tea since that day. Since the day my dad gave me such a great information and combined it with a good story. So now it's a story I will give it to you. So if you visit Taipei right now, you can also find a chance to try some really nice warm cup of tea. It's not the bubble milk tea type. It's just a cup of tea with no sugar inside. And some of the detailed information will be when you do boiling the tea, you should do it in the 85 Celsius degree. So you might wonder, okay, how can I do that? You can do it by having a boiled water 100 degree, that's okay. Put it in a cup first and then put it in your tea again. By putting in the cup in the beginning, that can help decrease some of the temperature of the boiling water. So this is one of the example of sharing Taiwan tea with you. And now I can turn to the next one, the Central Crossing Highway. This is one of my favorite highway in Taiwan. So again, if I ask you to do some research about Central Crossing Highway and try to imagine yourself as a guide and introduce it to other people, how are we going to do it? So let me do it from 0 to 1 for you. So first step, you need to go to look for some of the information about the Central Crossing Highway. You can Google it, you can read some of the book, you can ask your friend about it. And after you Google that, you have a lot of information in your mind right now. And so you need to put it into a story. You need to put it into like a good presentation. And the presentation should have key points. You need to make some key point. Okay, when is it built? It's built during the 1960s. Who built it? It's actually the engineer is all from China, and the main person who responsible for this highway, is the son of Chiang Kai-shek. It's Jiang Jingguo. So after you know that, you can start thinking about, okay, so what should I tell my audience? So this road is not just beautiful; it also have a historical meaning. The people who built the Central Crossing Highway are all retired soldiers. And the reason why they built this road because in Taiwan it's so crowded, the soldiers don't have any place to live. So Jiangjin will decide if they can build a road up to the mountain, they'll also find a place for them to live. So nowadays, when you drive all the way to the top, you'll notice that there is a farm up there. It's called the Qingjing Farm. So in that farm, they can have grow vegetables, they open some restaurant, and most of the soldiers actually live there. So this is such a beautiful story that I love it myself. We as a human being, we know some problems like Taiwan is too crowded, so we try to build a road up to the mountain and we try to settle down over there. And that is the story of the Central Crossing Highway. And of course, some of the bad memory happened when building it. Some people die. They are hit by a fallen rock and then they got killed because after they get hit and fall down to the cliff. So now in Hualien, the entrance is actually Torogo Gorge and there is a temple over there. In that temple, we honor all the workers who help us build the Central Crossing Highway, and we also write down their name. So if we have a chance to visit Hualien, definitely pay a visit to that very special place to honor all the workers who built the Central Crossing Highway. So when you think about the food, like Ding Tai Fung Xiaolong Bao, which method is the best? For me, I would say maybe comparison because for Xiaolong Bao, maybe a lot of people don't know what that is. So I will use it compare. Maybe you try dumpling. Mhm. Yes, Xiaolong Bao is just like dumpling, but it's not totally the same because Xiaolong Bao have juice inside. It just came from pork. So the difference between xiaolongbao and the dumpling is the dumpling, they're both made from pork. The dumpling is no juice inside the bun, but xiaolongbao there's juice inside the bun. And for Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Hall, I will give you an example of using historical input. That this park is built in 1975 and is to honor Chiang Kai-shek, who passed away in that year. So after 5 years of constructing it in 1980s, the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Park has been completed. And now it's still one of the most important historic attractions in Taipei City. And next, I will show you the last example for you. It's actually Yeliu down there in the right corner down there. Yeliu is also a geopark. And the reason why we have that geopark is because of the erosion of the wave and the wind to carve those interesting rock to interesting shape. So now you can Google Yellow Park and you will notice, oh, there is a rock looks like a mushroom. And I'm going to share with you some of the scientific way of explaining why those rocks look like a mushroom. So it's actually quite simple. You got the rock over there, and through years of wave and wind, those rock now became like a mushroom shape because the rock itself actually have many things being blown away by the water and the wind. So it being formed, amazingly formed by the nature. That is why Yellow Park is such an attraction. So for some people, they really think, oh, that place is look like Mars. It's such a cool place. If you have a chance, please do pay a visit in the Yellow Park. So after all these, what do you have in your mind? What do you think about you can try to guide your audience with all the principle I share with you today, with all the ideas and the method and the strategy? For me, I believe as a guide, the most important thing is the last principle, the passion. The passion for introducing the thing you love. The passion for sharing the interesting story that you have in in your life with your client. Maybe you can say with your friend. That is the most natural way. So if you want to be a good tour guide, please remember to always have passion in all time. So everyone, I want to congratulate you because you have done such a great job by listening to me. And this is my last PowerPoint. Taiwan is a place with 24 friendly people. We have 268 mountain with 3 centimeter high. We have one of the most prettiest mountain railway and one potential UNESCO site. And it's a birthday of bubble tea and everything made in Taiwan we can say is good. And also we have like the same-sex marriage, and by CNN, we are the safest country in the world. So I really do hope you enjoy your time in Taiwan, and I hope throughout my presentation for guiding vices and guiding principle, you also do learn something about how to become a good tour guide. So for my presentation, there is only a really small thing I want you to remember, which is passion, which is eye contact, which is friendly body language, which is doing the guiding is not like instructing, it's actually like inspire people to have spark their interest. And these are all the things I hope you can remember. And by doing so, you can also become a good tour guide. And I hope you learn a lot. And thank you all for listening.